Call the regular meeting of council for November 21st, 2023 to order at 6:30 p.m. Disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Is there any? Public meetings, there are none. Deputations, delegations. 4.1 Graham Gamble's Geo Exchange presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm going to stand up here so that I can get better eye contact with you. And I also stay awake better if I stand on my feet. Now, I have passed out some maps. Everybody should have 3 maps in their file there. Now, some of you have not been listening to me in the past because you were not on council. So I'm going to bring you up to date with what we've been looking at on the Geo Exchange project in this area. First off, I'm from Rock Park, and we look after the geology park at the Hailbury School of Mines, Northern College. But a few years ago, we became involved with the Canadian Geopark Network. And with it, we had to prove that we were interested in the science of geology. And that had more to do with, in this case here, with trying to recover energy out of the groundwaters. That has to do with looking for more silver or cobalt or anything of that nature. But that is what one of the requirements were of being a member in the Geopark Network. So that was about 7 years ago we started on that. And the last time that I spoke to the council was in 2019. At that time, we were working with the University of Guelph. And the professor that we were working with was a specialist in geo exchange. And he has come up and they've taken a look at it. He said, this is a fantastic spot. You've got all sorts of water underneath your feet, and it's ready to be tapped for the energy resources that have come out of it. So we were almost to the point where we were to make arrangements with the council at that time, and then COVID struck. And then we all know what happened with COVID, everything shuts down. The fellow that I was working with says, well, campus, the college or university said, I'm not allowed to leave the property anymore. He called up in the spring this year and said, hey, I've just been released. I can now leave campus and I can come up and do work at Cobalt. Can you see if you can get things going again? So I said, okay, we'll reactivate here. Last year, I was involved in another geo exchange project. This one was focused more up in the Carbon District. And at that time, we were working with Agnico, one of the people that normally you associate with in this area. And she had expressed an interest in learning more about the potential for taking the geo exchange heat reserves out of the groundwater in a flood mine and seeing what you can do with it. In our case, we were trying to work with a horticultural project to get the greenhouses going and actually heat them that way. So I was not working with the University of Guelph on that one. What we found out was at just about this time, I guess. It was probably end of November last year. Northern College hired a new fellow, an engineer by the name of Glenn Labba. And he is has a specialty, interesting enough, in greenhouses. And he was assigned specifically the job by Northern College of getting a pilot greenhouse up and going in Northern Ontario, something that would produce food 12 months of the year. And you cannot use fossil fuel, and you cannot use electricity. So what are you going to do? So I got in touch with this guy, and he was not really working with the project that I was already on. We were already into the final stage of that one, and ready to be passed in. And so he says, well, I haven't had experience with geo exchange. I've had experience with geothermal because he came from BC. But he says, it's all really works the same. If there is a possibility of having a mining company that's interested in using the heat out of an abandoned mine, well, we'd be interested in doing something with the greenhouse in that area. But the whole thing flopped. We did not get the grants that we were looking for. So this year, after we got this message from University of Guelph that they were interested again, I called up the guy at Northern College. Northern College could probably work with the University of Guelph on this. And he says, well, it really doesn't matter because both of us have the ability to go to the NSERC granting, the federal granting program, in order to get money to do research. So he says, yeah, we could work together, but from what you're telling me, in Cobalt, you were mostly looking at heating the buildings as opposed to heating a greenhouse. So in the past month, he's been down here and he's looked at the site. I've given a full view of what's on the phone and so forth. And now he has a concept in his mind as to what is here underneath your feet. But the question is, do you guys know what is underneath your feet? And a lot of you are new, and you probably haven't seen this map. So if you refer to the big one here, okay, at the bottom, okay, that is the total area really of Cobalt and Cobalt together, that there might be an interest in doing something on geo exchange. And what you're looking for in particular is those little red lines. Those are the mined out veins. And you can see them, they're running all the way through. But if you can't see them, then to the second map, the small one, which is a blow up. And that is of the downtown core. And in there, you can see those red lines quite clearly. And that indicates that anywhere down to about 350 feet, from 200 to 350 feet, is a mined out silver vein. And no longer are they empty space, they're filled with water. A couple of years ago, we had the shaft filled here in the Conyagos number 4. And they put in the block at about 30 feet down or so. Below that, it was water. So they weren't going to go any further than that. So we know that a little bit up the hill from here, it's at about 30 feet. We're a little bit lower, maybe 25 feet from the ground level outside the pavement there down to essentially the level of the lake. So just envision the lake being flooded in all the way through the rest of Cobalt, and that is where the water table is. And of course, you go to the old town site, and you look down the hole there, and you can see the water there. It's the same all the way underneath us. So what is the potential of the energy that we have in there? I spoke to a fellow in 2009 when we had the international power match up here up at Wilson. And he came up and he was into ground energy, but mostly for the farmers. And I said, well, the guys around here are not really all that interested in it, but there's one place that has potential, I think, is Cobalt. He says, well, why don't you take me down and I'll take a look at it. So I gave him the 1 hour tour of the Cobalt and Coleman. He says, you guys are sitting on a gold mine. That is free energy sitting underneath your feet. No, it's not natural gas. But natural gas isn't the thing we're looking for nowadays because they don't want us to use it. What you have here is a fossil-free energy source under your feet. And if you went back to the 1980s, Spring Hill, Nova Scotia, they discovered the same thing, at least a couple of people did. There was water that was coming out of one of the old adits, and all coal mines there. And the water was a word. And so they started thinking, well, maybe we can use it. So they captured the water and then funneled in through a heat recovery system. And they were able to move the temperature of the water from somewhere in the 60s Fahrenheit up to something more suitable, 75, 80, you know, to keep it only warm in the winter. But that was the very earliest thing that's ever happened in Canada. However, about say year 2000 roughly, up at Yellowknife, the old con mine up there, there was a project up there that was researched to see if they could keep all of Yellowknife, all of the energy that is down in that mine. And I was lucky enough to meet the guy who was a consultant, the engineer. I met him at the Laurentian University. And he said, we had the whole thing ready to go. Everything was in place. We had confirmed that, yes, even in Yellowknife, we could heat a certain number of buildings. I said, well, certainly not the whole town, because I understood that was what dropped. He said, well, what we were looking at was the downtown core, the business section, because it was closest to the mine. And the people out in the residences, well, they would not be affected by the state sales. They would have to be using heating fuel. And so it came to a vote up there, and the townspeople voted down. They said, if it was not available to us, the people who live here, then we're not interested in the rich guys in the downtown core making use of it. Well, you don't have any rich guys in the downtown core. But the most important part about Cobalt is that everything is close in together. So like Yellowknife is spread out over creation. That takes energy to move the heat and that out to those spots. However, things have developed significantly since, well, say the last 20 years. Last year, I came in touch with this company called Track Engineering. They're based out of Kelowna, BC, but the big office is in Toronto. And they were involved in this other project that I had mentioned to you that Agnico was also going to be supportive of. And so I explained the situation that we had here, and they said, geez, you're talking about 300, 400 feet of open area underneath. That's easy access. We normally put down our holes in the agricultural land in Niagara down to a maximum of 400 feet. And so it says beyond that, it's really too expensive to do that extra drilling and so forth and the installation. So he says, we've never done anything with straight mine water. We have done one project in a mining camp. We were out at Red Lake, and we were using one of the old shafts, and there was worm air that was coming up from that, and we captured that worm air, and we then heated some building rubber. So he says that, yeah, so I'm familiar with the mining area, but we're not familiar with capturing that water. And he says, if you can get this going here, we'd really like to be part of it, because we are the premier company in Canada right now that's putting in it. They've got 150 different operations going across Canada. So a huge number of them were actually down in the Niagara area, when they were heating those new marijuana greenhouses. And they were all heating them out of the ground. So the technology has really developed since 1980s out at Spring Hill and up to Yellowknife and so forth. And now they have been able to increase the exchange rate of the heat, I guess is the best way to put it, because the ground temperature underneath us is 43 Fahrenheit. It's a little warm in Niagara. It's 48, 50 Fahrenheit, something like that. But we're still in that neighborhood. It says we can keep magnifying that heat so that you can heat the buildings. But what the key thing is that you need to have 20,000 square feet in order to make it work. Now, when I was working with University of Guelph, they said, well, we'll do a pilot project and we'll, if we could get hold of the classic theater, that would work good for a test. And the ideal thing is, he says, is that we don't want any people living there. Just to be sure that we can do all the experiments we want to do and nobody's going to get hurt because the heat might go up, might go down while we're experimenting with this here. So now it's changed so that we know that it's a requirement to have about 20,000 square feet. So look at this map that you have here. You see there's a red line coming down here. But basically, just this side of the high school on Project. And coming down, and it comes through essentially the parking lot behind the Classic and under the Classic, and then across the street over to the old gem shop. But everything that's in red is a mined out vein. And there is a cross section that you can get a hold of. I had given you guys, or the council in 2009, I made a report to them. And in the back of that, there is some cross-sections of what it looks like underneath the Classic Theater. So, Stephen, if you haven't seen that, maybe you can look that report up and find it. And if not, you can find it on the internet now anyhow. You go into the Ministry of Mines, the Geology Ontario section, and then you can run through the whole system and you can pull up the old maps of the mine workings. Supposedly, I haven't done that. I did that back years ago, and I'm sure they still got the stuff accessible. So anybody who knows how to operate that system should be able to find it pretty quickly and let the rest of people know how to get in on it. Because most of you actually have not worked in a mine, I'm pretty sure, and especially not in Cobalt. I actually was trained at the old Silverfields property when I was at mining school. So that's going back to the early 70s. And we go down and do our geology studies, and we do our surveying work to learn how to work an underground mine. So I know what it's like down there, and what it's like over that side is a heck of a lot the same as what it is here. And if you've ever been, and you probably all have, been to the little silver vein, take a look in, and what you see there is what is underneath your feet right here. Wherever these red lines are on the vein, they take out only the amount that they want. You know, if they could just squeeze a guy's body, get this little thin guy in there and blast out that section. And then if there's a number of veins come together, well, we're going to blast it out more. So it's highly variable about what's underneath here. But the main thing is that the water is all filled, and that connects all these here red lines together. Plus, the on that second sheet, the blow up, notice that I've got two sites circled. I've got the shaft here at the Coniagas, and the old shaft that was in front of the old age home mill, which was plugged up a few years ago. But back in the day, they did not use diamond drilling. They just tunneled. So what you see of these red veins is connected to a humongous number of tunnels, which has a humongous amount of water under almost all of the Cobalt. So it is accessible. So we're coming to the end of it. But I was wanting to point out here is that if you need 20,000 square feet, you get about 15,000 of the Classic. Out of this building, you get another 15,000. Out of the mining museum, you got about 8,500 square feet. And then you got the Fraser, you probably got about 5,000 square feet per floor and that. And so that's, I think, what you folks own. And then you got the Legion the next door. You got the LCBO, you got the Federal Post Office. None of those places other than the Fraser actually has anybody living in it. So the project that you should be considering is something that involves all of these areas, do it up once, have an access point in the parking lot behind the Classic Theater or up on the hillside, just behind the Fraser, to go up towards up towards the old high school. So there's an opportunity here, but I'm at the end of my run of being able to be the intermediary for you. Because now people are saying, we want to talk with somebody who has responsibility in the council, somebody who speaks for the town, because we now have to make some decisions. And so Glenn Lever from Northern College wants to talk to you. And the people down at University of Guelph, I'm not quite sure. There's been some changes made. And I was just talking to them there this past, well, a couple weeks ago. And so there may be some differences in what their thrusts are. Alexandra Hood from Agnico. You need to talk to her, because she is the one that's responsible for environmental, and she was the one that was very interested in the project we were doing up in the Emmons area last year, proposing to have it done. And then there is the Track International. They're saying, yes, we want to do something, but we have to talk to somebody who has responsibility That's not me. That's one of you people in this room, or maybe a committee. So I'm going to leave that with you at this point. I've done my 20 minutes, but I will take questions. And speak loudly because I'm half deaf. Okay, back.
Oh, okay. Where we would be drilling, how much room is needed to do that drilling initially to get down and then to set up?
Okay,
That's the question for the parking lot is it's already rather small.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the tricky thing, because any other areas that they're doing, say down in Niagara, they would put down a number of drill holes, all say 10 feet apart or so. And they would do it in a big rectangular type of area. But that's because they need to suck the energy out of a lot of different pockets of soil in order to bring it together.
Yeah.
Well, it's different here. All you really need is to have that access down to the big bucket of water that's under your feet. And then figure out, what size of hole. So I would envision that it's only 2 holes maximum. One to go down and bring, so you can bring either the water up, or what's more likely is that they will bring up, use an antifreeze type of system. And they'll have tubes and that go down. And then the energy comes up that way, so the water is not disturbed down below. That's the other thing, is that the water belongs to the province. It doesn't belong to any mining claim. If you've got a mining claim, you do not own the water. You do not own the heat. You just own the minerals. And so you would need to get in touch with Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Natural Resources and Energy at Sudbury there, and say what you got in mind, and ask them, well, have you got any questions, and have you got any new restrictions? As far as I know, it's the same as it was years ago, that the person who owns the land, the surface rights, owns the water, but he doesn't own it. He has access to the water. There's a difference there. But it doesn't belong to anybody who's mining. The other thing that we should know is that you could have it holes anywhere as in the municipal land base. I'm presuming that you own the stairways up to the next road, if we, they're going up to the high school, land on both sides. Things like that can be put into those areas. But you would want to have spots to return water if you do decide to go for an active fluid water. That's very easy, because then you only have to pump roughly 30 feet. Okay, so if you go down 30 feet, put your pump at that point, as long as you drill that hole down to the bottom where the water is down below, it all gushes up to the 30-foot level in this neighborhood. So you just suck that. So there's no energy involved in electricity to do any pumping. Then you run it through your big machines and they take the energy out, magnify it, and make use of it, which is another guy's technicality, and I can't give you more information on that. So it's that is any place where you have municipal land, that is your access point. So even if you're crossing the road across over here to the old gem shop, you could effectively put down a hole in the middle of the road and then seal it over top, have access or whatever, and do the system that way. You could do that in any roadway that you have, or laneway in the back, behind the building here. We got the laneway back there as well. And the old adit from the shaft that was in front of the old age home coming across to here, essentially it runs underneath that back laneway, Jameson. So think of it on the long view. Right now, you need to do a pilot project to see if it even works in a building of this age. Now, how many people have R2000 homes in Cobalt? Pretty minimal, aren't they? But they use an awful lot of natural gas in order to heat them, and the gas goes straight out the walls. Federal government frowns on that nowadays. If you have fossil-free energy and you can serve it up at least at no higher price than what the natural gas is, well, you can pump it all day and it's not going to affect the energy. It doesn't matter if it goes up this wall here, goes out your residences in the area. So it might be actually be cheaper to actually have a system like this where you can maximize the amount of heat and not have to worry about putting new insulation in your downtown core buildings or Elvidge residences that we have around here. You can do it by basically having a core location in a number of spots throughout the community, and then have the people in those corners connect to that site. The best example is at St. Pat's School. It's all lined out underneath that. You can have one spot there, maybe in the backyard underneath the playground area, and that one will heat everything in that core down there. Other question was over here.
So initially, when we were told about this project, we were told that there were a few phases. So the first phase is that a study was going to be done, basically, to see if it's feasible and that it wouldn't cost us anything. It's drilling holes, like it's assessing the temperature of the water and creating like a feasibility study. And then from there, a proposal could come to the town and we could see, do we want to invest money? Does it make sense to actually put the project into place? So is that still what's being proposed?
That would still be likely the way that you would want to go. It's just that I've learned a little bit more about the sizing, the 20,000 square feet. That seems to be critical for efficiency. Whereas the guys from University of Guelph said, well, give us any building at all and we'll be happy. We'll make it work. So, it's just more knowledge that we've got right now. So that is still what you wanted to do. But keep in mind that when you drill that one hole, you want to make it big enough so that you could do all the buildings in the downtown core. You only want to drill it once. You're going to have to plug it at some point, to make sure that mice and the kids don't fall in. And but if you have the proper size hole to hold a large vision of the downtown core, including the Fraser at some point, but that would be the last one we would want to do. So the idea is to cut back on your energy consumption, change a different type of energy, and have something that Cobalt can show, as we are now the center of Canada for a new technology. You were the center of the world for new technology 100 years ago. Well, it'd be nice to reclaim a little bit some of that glory, because nobody else is doing it. You go down to Michigan, they got the big copper mines down there. They can do it, but it's in there, gas is cheap. People would change their ideas. There are people doing this in Europe because you heard they don't have natural gas anymore. They're trying to get heat from anywhere that they can, but they've always done this sort of thing on a very small scale. So yeah, look at it as being a pilot project, and we don't want you guys to spend anything more than your own time. And you guys are putting up the sites, the buildings. That's a huge asset to be able to have any university or college professor to use. The fellow from Northern College, would have a different idea other than doing it on the town site, so you need to talk to him as well. But essentially, what he's looking for is, those vertical farms, they look like big cargo shipping containers. And he's, I think, going to have 5 or 6 of those put together and then have some sort of a dome over the top of it, and then heat everything within that dome. So that is just basically the concept. But the Northern College is going to have a new program teaching kids how to do greenhousing and horticulture in a cold climate. It would be nice if you could do it here at Cobalt, because Halebury campus is only 10 minutes away by bus. No, Timmins doesn't have that. So that is why you need to now just talk to 2 different groups. Get a hold of Alexandra Hood. She's got money because she is thinking that, well, gee, if it works in Cobalt, works in Timmins, maybe it will work up the Northwest Territories where we have active mines. And we can feed those people without having a jet come in and drop off some vegetables every day or every week. So that is the long-term vision for them. They've also got mines all over the country. Can they make use of them? no one has ever made use of an old hole in the ground before. But things have changed. Technology has changed, and you guys are on the best chance to get into it because your water is the closest to the surface. Everybody else, you gotta go way down. You've got pumping expense. Yep.
Sorry, I don't know if you knew the answer to this or not. It was about magnifying the energy that comes to the water that gets magnified once it comes up to the surface. So
Yeah.
what is creating the magnification? Do you know what it is that does that? Is there equipment, is there equipment that makes the magnification
Oh,
process?
yeah. Well, you've heard about these heat pumps there that the feds have been promoting for the Maritimes.
Okay, so it's a heat pump. It's a heat pump.
Okay, it's essentially a heat pump, but those heat pumps for the Maritimes, it's going to be just, they'll put out somebody's house and they use the air. But you notice that they didn't offer it to Newfoundland and Labrador? Too damn cold. It's as cold as here. Those things, they stop efficiency at 0 centigrade, 32 Fahrenheit.
So then what are you going to be using? What will they be using to do this magnification here?
Electricity, if you've got.
So it's electricity. Okay, so I just want to know this story.
The key thing about water is it's always at the same temperature. Right here, it will always be at 43 Fahrenheit. When the guys were mining, the reports came back. We're working in conditions of 43 degrees Fahrenheit in the mines, in the summer, in the winter, always the same. You can go out and you can, there's 3 flowing wells, upflow wells in the Cobalt and Coleman, and you can measure the temperature. It's 43 degrees, maybe 45 degrees in September. I measured that one at the old mud mine at North Cobalt.
But I'm just thinking about heating
Not much
something.
change.
I'm just thinking about heating something in the winter, going from 43 degrees Celsius.
And then, then it's just a matter of the equipment magnifying.
So what's going to be doing
Yeah.
that from
So
here
you
to
bring it
there?
from 43 up to 70, 80,
So that's going to
90.
be electricity.
The question is, how do you do that? How do you make it 30 degrees hotter?
Their technology, not mine.
The machine you plug in.
Yeah,
and it does
it just goes in and if Steve, I think I gave you the report from Track International. I gave it to Pat.
Yeah.
If you can get that report to everybody, and then they will be as knowledgeable as you and me. Okay? And then call up Track. Okay, another question?
Yeah, so has anybody quantified the actual savings? If you're using electricity for these pumps, what's the actual energy savings?
Where would the actual energy?
Energy savings, if you're using
Yeah,
electricity.
percentages.
In that report from Track, they make some projections, which of course will be their best projections. They are suggesting, yeah, you might reduce your cost by 50%. I would take that with a very large grain of salt, because I'm pretty sure they're talking about R2000 buildings. We don't have R2000. But the key is that it isn't more expensive than natural gas. Because then even if it's a break even on that standpoint, then you are ahead politically. Because everybody's going to be looking for the communities that are making a change. And you can be a leader in that area. There's a bit of glory involved here. So it depends how big your ego is.
You have to have money to save money.
But we also use more in natural gas because we're inefficient. So hopefully there would still be a savings because they're comparing 50% savings on an already efficient building. We're inefficient, so we're using even more to begin with. So there should theoretically still be a savings.
So, but the bottom line is, don't take what the promoter Track says. Go to the universities. Or Northern College, you have another alternative, and that's Laurentian. At Laurentian University, they put down a geo-exchange into dry holes within the rock. They have an outfit, Living with Lakes. They have a big building. It's called Living with Lakes. It's right on the shore of the lake. And it is running 100% off of geo-exchange and solar. But geo-exchange is the main thing. So there may be people at Laurentian who also want to do some research in this area as well. But these are the only ones that I know of that are really starting to get into it from an educational point of view. And you want educational people involved because they have access to the NSERC Because what they do is they then teach their masters and PhD students how to run these things and learn new projects. They can learn an awful lot in Cobalt. Okay? I am available for anybody who wants to chat. Get a hold of Stephen, he'll set us up. And if you guys strike a committee at some point and need somebody to sit with you, I'll be happy to sit and guide you, mentor you.
Okay.
But we're to the point now where you have to do the work. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Greg. You believed in our community for years.
5, adoption of meeting agenda, draft motion, be it resolved that council approve the agenda of the regular meeting dated November 21st, 2023, as presented. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cooper. Councillor Hughes. All in favor? Oh, sorry, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Approval of previous council minutes, draft motion, be it resolved that council approve the following minutes as presented. Regular meeting of council, October 17th, 2023. Special meeting of council, October 24th, 2023. Committee of the whole meeting, November 7th, 2023. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Starchuk and Councillor Anderson. Discussion on those minutes? All in favor? Carried. Items for council consideration, 7.1, council stipends. Draft motion, whereas at the committee of the whole meeting on November 7, 2023, council received staff report 2023-11-07-03, and whereas council was presented with 3 options. Option 1, freeze council stipend at the current rate for the entire term. Option 2, increase council stipend by an amount equivalent to the percentage of the union contract. Option 3, adjust stipend by an annual economic increase. Therefore, be it resolved that council proceed with option 1 to freeze council stipend at the current rate for the remainder of the 2022-2026 council term. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Cooper, Councillor Starchuk, discussion?
Yeah, I'm not handing in any more money. We just took a loss. I don't think we should be punished. We pay taxes just like everyone else in this town. Can't believe we're trying to do this to us.
Can you just be a little bit more specific on what?
Well,
so you
freeze our
are-
thing. Well, we just lost some money. Now we're gonna freeze it.
So you are against,
Yes, I'm very against that. I was against it last time too.
do you have an alternate proposal, or you just want to see?
Yeah, just saying I'm against it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not saying we give a raise or nothing, but just go on like everybody else does. We shouldn't be handing more money.
Anybody else? Councillor Wilcox.
I'm just wondering what option 3 actually means, adjust stipend by an annual economic increase.
Whatever the inflation rate is.
It's probably our smartest bet.
Councillor Anderson.
Okay, if we're going to freeze it to the end of our term,
3 more years.
yeah, to help us get out of trouble, I want an addendum added on to that then it starts the regular increase after that. Because that happened so many years ago and we went farther and farther behind, and sometimes you need a little bit of council pay to get people to come to council too.
You do your job
Because
seriously.
I think when you were mayor way back in '90, when I first came on, what was it, $250? Yep. Well, it got all the way to 255, 15 years later or so. That's not fair increases. That's why we made a big increase before. So I think it should say if we agree to one, we should also have a thing there that it starts to go back up with the beginning of the next term.
I guess I got the question, what would the union contract standard percentage or whatever? These numbers, so it's hard to kind of guess.
Yeah, and that goes from collective agreement to collective agreement. It depends on
You
what's
know what it
agreed
is
on.
right now?
Your worship,
4%?
actually, it kind of varies. There is a specific dollar value, like an increase for it. But if you're making a certain dollar, like if you're making just an example, $25 and someone else is making $23. Well, if that it is both going up at the same dollar amount, it's two different percentages. So, and that's what it's with the collective agreement right now.
Oh, it's in dollars.
Maybe option 3 is the easiest to figure
Yeah,
out.
okay. That wasn't a dollar amount, not a percentage. Okay, I understand that.
Counselor Cooper.
I think that averages out to about 1.2% or something right now. The union agreement, yeah. I think it was 35 cents per classification. Which is 1.2%, give or take.
Counselor Hunter.
I was wondering if maybe we could go with option 1, but instead of saying the entire term, just for the next year, and then we could revisit it again, seeing how we're doing at the end of the year.
Counselor Wilcox.
Just a couple of thoughts. Option 2, I would be opposed to because we negotiate the union contract and I wouldn't want it to be suggested. We were biased in any way to give them a raise. That would be unfortunate.
Good.
3, I'm opposed to because inflation goes up and down and sideways. Who knows? And that could give us a whole lot more than we intended. And between the options, I kind of support Councillor Hunter that we do it for this year coming and then review it after that year.
Well, I think it's a real kick in the pants is, we're here, we're trying to do the best job we can, and we're not being, not the word not rewarded, but not being appreciated for what we're doing. We're actually losing some. Stuff's taken away as we're trying our best to do a good job. It's not really rewarding you couldn't do that at a regular job. Go to work and say, you've done a great job, I'm gonna take $300 away from you or whatever. Congratulations, thanks for being a team player. I pay taxes in my house, I pay at my business. I'm getting really bent over at the business. It really went up this year. So now I'm giving more money here because I'm a counselor. I voted for the tax increase. I didn't like it, but I voted for it because I had to, because it's what we needed.
Okay. Counselor Wilcox.
Just to note that back when the car companies were in desperate straits, the union did negotiate downwards, not upwards, to keep the companies afloat. So it happens.
Counselor Hunter.
So if we don't freeze it, let's say this motion didn't happen, what was the increase going to be?
Right now, I'd have to just double check some of previously, what the previous council was going by the consumer price index. That percentage.
Let's say approximately 4%. 3 to 4 in there. I mean, that's pretty small because as it is, it's $500 approximately, just under. So let's say it's 500. So that's like $15 a month that we're sitting here arguing about right now.
It's not gonna save you
Times 7.
Times 12 months.
Yeah, so it won't save the town any, but it's a bit of a slap in our faces. I find it insulting.
Currently, your worship, for council, it's $6,501.
We just gave back, 50 in this last one we did? 50 something a month?
But that was to offset at the beginning, because it went up at the beginning to get a base rate for this year, so it would go into it. It is a 12-month rate for next year, depending what council wants to do.
I would have taken the job as counselor if it was free, but you don't give me something and take it away from me. Unless I'm doing a bad job.
Okay, whoa.
Then I'm being,
Okay, you've made your views very well
I'd
known.
like to see it count for something.
Okay, so, do we want to defer this to the next committee of the whole so we can come up with an option that is acceptable to everybody? Okay. Okay. Defer? Yeah. 7.2, Community Engagement Initiative, draft motion. Be it resolved that council endorse. Sorry.
Just a point of order, we should have a motion to defer.
Oh, sorry. All right. Can we make a motion to defer?
Yeah, move it.
Move it. Second, Councillor Cooper. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. 7.2, Community Engagement Initiative, draft motion, be it resolved that council endorse the Community Engagement Initiative as proposed by Mayor Adsett. Expenses and donations will be tracked through the Recreation and Council and the General Ledger. Mayor Adsett will bring proposed events before council with estimated costs and available balances in the account, so the council is aware that municipal funds will not be used for this initiative. And I need a mover and a seconder. Councilor Anderson? Nobody wants to second it. Okay, Councilor Hunter. Any discussion?
You're reading it here.
Councilor Cooper?
Is there currently any money in that recreation account? And if so, what's the balance?
There is no money in the account currently. We do have a donation pending of $250. But we haven't been able to accept it until we get everything set up.
So there's nothing there now, 70, okay.
There will be no municipal funds being used for this.
Just strictly donations and things?
Okay, Councilor Hunter, you had a question?
Just if you wanted to talk a bit more about your.
The Community Engagement Initiative, that it all comes back to getting the community involved, because if we want change is gonna have to come from everybody who lives in Cobalt, not just the 7 of us sitting around the table. And change in a positive direction is what I'm aiming for. So there's gonna be some ideas I have where to have a big idea, coffee event where everybody can come. There's postcards they can fill out that will that I'll print myself. That if anybody has any ideas and any skills that they can have that can help those ideas come to fruition, and just get together and start a positive conversation. Because since COVID, we've all isolated ourselves, and I think the key to change is going to be to learn how to be a community again, which is something that's going to take some effort. Okay. One of my other ideas that I'm looking into is having the school designate a shadow mayor. Obviously, there's going to be some things the student won't be able to participate in, but it gives them an idea and then encourages them to get more involved in their community, because our youth is going to be our future. One day, it's going to be those kids, as they get to be adults, that are going to be sitting around this table making these decisions that we make now. So I think it's very important to see if we can get some interest going in them when they're at the stage where we can develop it, or it can be developed. Councillor Starchuk.
Did you have any ideas come in from the community yet?
I did, and well, not ideas, but I did have, I issued the challenge. I did have 3 responses, and I'll read them out during the mayor's report, because that's where I issued the challenge.
Just a little statement here. Those three things that you got really maybe says we should wasting our time with the community engagement initiative. We've
Sorry?
only had 3 people apply, like come in with anything. Maybe we're wasting our time with this community engagement initiative.
It's not costing the town any money or resources.
That's good. That's good.
So, but if we give up before we even start, what's that say?
And I think it starts with a trickle. Well, it could start the opposite as well, but there's a start, right?
It's got to start
To start,
somewhere.
yeah.
And anybody that had attended the Peter Kenyon, that is something that he was big on, is it all starts with the people that live in the community. If you want change. Okay. We deal with making the policies. We don't deal with changing the attitudes.
But we have to have the positive outlook to start with.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. All in favor? Carried. Can I vote on my own thing? 7.3 ad hoc committees name change, draft motion. Whereas council received staff report number 2023-110705 at the committee of the whole meeting, November 7th, 2023, with a recommendation to change the name of the ad hoc committees to town advisory groups. Therefore, be it resolved that council approve the name change for the Sharp Lake property, budget, procedural, and procurement committees. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Hughes, Councillor Anderson. Discussion. Okay, all in favor? Oh, you have a question?
No, I had a comment.
Okay.
Goodness me. I'm going to be as emphatically opposed to this as Gary was to not getting a raise. Just to get you in there, Gary. In Canada, we have 3 levels of government, provincial and municipal.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 are governed by rules. For municipalities, that's the Municipal Act. The Municipal Act is clear that if council wants to operate committees, there are ad hoc committees, there are standing committees, but they are named as committees, they are open to the public, they are advertised, they are structured, and that's the way you get good government. It's open, it's transparent. I'm not sure just what this town advisory group is, but it strikes me as a way of sidestepping the Municipal Act. And I'm just generally opposed to it. I think council is the government. Council has the obligation to rule in public, to make decisions in public, and to make sure that those are followed up by. So that's my thought on it. As well, of course, as our procedural bylaw, which also says we'll have committee structure.
Anybody else?
Have a recorded vote on this, please?
Councillor Starcher?
Can we have, again, more clarification about how this would work? So the public understands how this would work as opposed to an ad hoc committee? Can we get
That's maybe why we're changing the name.
just to clarify to the public that's watching right now?
Okay, Your Worship,
Mm-hmm.
when dealing with very sensitive subjects, especially that here you are putting an agenda and then also in a closed session, that could be confusing for the public as well. Also, with some of the items that are dealing with right now, we brought back the budget committee, and again with some specific items there to ensure that we have all the agendas out, everything like that. This way, just you're still doing all that same work, but just as an advisory.
And I'd like to point out that no decisions are made without the information coming to council. These groups aren't making decisions. The information is being gathered, discussed, brought forward, and then it comes to council for decision. So there's still transparency. It's not like anything's being hidden.
I don't see the problem with it.
Okay.
My understanding is, I think it's just that we're just changing the name, just so if we have to make a meeting, we can make it without the advertising, the 48 hours or whatever it is.
Yeah, and so it also saves us a lot of, I don't want to say the word headaches, but this, for protocol, like we'll still be doing pretty much the exact same items.
Yeah.
Going forward.
If we were gonna have a meeting,
Yes.
if we were gonna have a meeting, we don't have to advertise it, so the public can meet us at Sharp Lake or something like that. Like we did last time at the meeting. Okay.
For Councillor Wilcox.
Just to respond to that comment, and that is why it shouldn't be done. If the whole point of committees and council is that they are advertised and the public is able to come and see them if they want to. Traditionally, we don't get much of a turnout, if any, but nonetheless, it's still a question of being seen to be doing it openly and transparently.
Okay. Okay, well, we had this discussion under committee of the whole meeting, and now we're making motions. So, Councillor Anderson.
One thing there, I look at our budget meetings. This means technically we can invite the whole world there, right? Or any Cobalter to discuss the intricacies of what we're gonna buy and how we're gonna save and everything else.
If it's an ad hoc committee, anybody is welcome to attend. If it's something that qualifies under closed meeting rules in the municipal act, then declare a closed meeting for that session. It doesn't all have to be done in an open meeting. You do have that option to go into a closed meeting.
Virtually all those are closed meetings, so what's the big deal about giving the meetings?
Toronto does its budget discussions in open.
Okay,
for the most part.
that's, question was asked, question was answered. Anybody else have anything? Okay, Councillor Cooper,
Against.
Councillor Anderson,
Or
Councillor Hughes,
Or.
Councillor Hunter,
Or
Councillor Starchuk,
Or
Councillor Wilcox,
Opposed?
and Mayor Hudson. Four. So carried. 7.4, Timiskaming Health Unit Municipal Expense Allocation Method. Draft motion, whereas the method of allocation for the Board of Health Expenses is governed by Ontario Regulation 489-97 under the Health Protection and Promotion Act. And whereas the Board of Health of the Timiskaming Health Unit currently uses the most recent enumeration conducted by the Municipal Property and Assessment Corporation to allocate expenses. And whereas the Board of Health of the Timiskaming Health Unit feels that changing the method of allocation to utilize the most recent census conducted by Statistics Canada allows for a more accurate and equitable distribution of expenditures. And whereas any change in allocation method must be agreed to by all obligated municipalities. Therefore, be it resolved that Council approve the recommendation by the Board of Health of the Timiskaming Health Unit to move to census-based allocation for the Board of Health expenditures effective January 1st, 2024, and that a copy of the resolution be sent to the Timiskaming Health Unit Board of Health. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson, Councillor Hughes, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Carried. 7.5, Cobalt Public Library Board appointment, draft motion, whereas as a result of 2 vacant seats on the Cobalt Public Library Board, council are advertised for interested persons to apply to fill the vacancies. And whereas 2 applications were received by the deadline of October 20, 2023, be it resolved that Suzanne Othmer and Mary Church be appointed to the Cobalt Public Library Board. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cooper, Councillor Starchuk, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. 7.6, surplus lots, Pyrite Street. Staff report 2023-11-2101. Draft motion. Whereas at the regular council meeting on September 19, 2023, council declared the following lots as surplus. And whereas both lots were evaluated by a licensed realtor, therefore be it resolved that the following lots be advertised for sale with the estimated current value of the property, and all transferable legal fees will be the responsibility of the purchaser. Number 1, 32 Pyrite Street North, vacant lot, $16,000. Number 2, 39 Pyrite Street North, vacant lot, $20,000, for a total of $36,000. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson and Councillor Hughes. Discussion. Councillor Hunter.
it's really small and you're gonna get super angry at me, but can we just make an amendment to remove the word license? Because Ontario doesn't have a licensing system for realtors, so just say realtor, I'm really sorry.
Can we make that change? Not a problem. I know, that didn't make me angry.
It's annoying, but I'm sorry, it's just to be,
Any other discussion?
We have a recorded vote, please.
Counselor Wilcox,
Against.
Counselor Anderson. Counselor Cooper,
Or,
Counselor Hughes. Counselor Hunter. Counselor Starchuck. Mayor Ad said 4. Carried. 8, items for council information, none. 9, bylaws and agreements. 9.1, bylaw 2023-33 to adopt a user fee bylaw for 2024-2026. Draft motion, and whereas council received staff report number 2023-11-07-01 at the committee of the whole meeting, November 7th, 2023, with a recommendation to adopt a 2024-2026 user fee bylaw. Now therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-33 being a bylaw to adopt the user fee bylaw for the town of Cobalt be read a first, second, and final time and pass this 21st day of November 2023. And further that said bylaw be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Cooper, Councillor Hughes, any discussion? Okay, all in favor? Carried. 9.2, bylaw 2023-34 to adopt amendment number 2 to bylaw 2020-32 municipal property tax policy. Draft motion. Whereas council received staff report number 2023-11-02 in the whole meeting, November 7th, 2023, with a recommendation to adopt amendment number 2 to the bylaw 2020-32 municipal property tax policy. Now therefore be it resolved that bylaw number 2023-34 being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 2 to the bylaw 2020-32 municipal property tax policy be read a first, second, and final time and pass this 21st day of November 2023. And further that said bylaw be signed and sealed by the mayor and clerk. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson, Councillor Starchuck, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Number 10, unfinished business. None. Number 11, new business. 11.1, schedule of accounts. Be it resolved that council receives the following schedules as presented. Schedule number 2023-20 in the amount of $148,860.53. Schedule number 2023-21 in the amount of $113,915.81. A mover and a seconder. Councillor Anderson, Councillor Cooper, any discussion? All in favor? Carried. Mayor's report. Okay, I've issued the challenge for people to come forward with what they love about Cobalt. I've so far had 3. I said I'd take the first 8. I do have a $25 Tim Hortons gift card for these 3 people. And if we get 5 more, I'll have another $25 gift card for Tim Hortons for them. So I'll just quickly read the responses I got. Trudy Lawrence, I seen the challenge to put in a few words about what we love about Cobalt. What I love is the small town feel. I remember being a kid walking down the street saying hello to everyone. You cannot do that anymore, even in Hallaberry or New Lister. Yet in Cobalt, we still have that small town feel. I love when someone has a crisis, Cobalt people pull together and help out. I remember beginning COVID with my 2 little kids. and need one to take one hole right downtown. We do our best to take care of Cobalters. I'm a Cobalt lifer. My second one is from Jennifer Boucher, and I apologize if I mispronounce anybody's name. Good day. I was talking out loud to myself the last other days, something along the lines of your article you wrote today, Sunday, October 15th, 2023. I missed the grocery store downtown, big time. You know where it was, up the sidewalk at the corner by the train station. I miss Weeby's Food and Bar, games room, gambling arcade machines, music, pool table, great fancy coffee shop to enjoy snacks in the daytime hours, etc. from the good old days. That was a safe, fun, safe, clean place, no drunks. At the corner street near Legion 44 opposite the grocery store. So much fun, myself and others from the Tri-Town talk about it often when we see each other. Great job, Cobalt. Love you and your minds, as always. Gorgeous pavement, too. Fresh. From Jennifer. And maybe we can get some of that back again. 10. A few reasons why I love Cobalt. I love the drinking water in Cobalt. I'm so thankful for the pure, refreshing, drinkable water. Cobalt water is simply the best water around. 2. I love the classic theater in Cobalt. I appreciate having live entertainment in Cobalt. I'm grateful to have an opportunity to see a variety of local and non-local talent performing in Cobalt. Thank you to all the people who worked so hard to keep the Cobalt Classic Theater open. I love having a town bus in Cobalt. I'm grateful for a bus service that is available every day. Thank you, bus drivers, for taking me where I need to go and home safely again. I love the Heritage Silver Trail head frame with all mining memorabilia in the downtown Cobalt. I love going there to see the rock carvings and read about Cobalt history. I love meeting the tourists who also love to stop there to take pictures. I'm really thankful there's a picnic table for me to sit down. 5. I love the people who are living in Cobalt. Everyone is very friendly to me. I feel safe and secure living here. I am happy to speak to people when I'm out walking. Everyone says hello to me. 6. I love all the shops and services that Cobalt offers me. I love supporting local businesses, and I am thankful that more businesses are opening up in Cobalt. 7. We're getting there. I love Cobalt's unique character, the history that some of the older buildings still show. Mine sites that are loaded with history and eagerly waiting to tell their own story, and town ghosts who don't scare me one bit. 8. I love the park in Cobalt where the kids can play. I love the walking trail in the park. Goes alongside the lake. 9. I love the lake in Cobalt, a resting spot for Canadian geese, ducks, swans, and loons. I love sitting on the park bench and watching the birds. 10. I love having a bench to sit on while I am downtown. 11. I love living in Cobalt. I'm truly thankful to be living in the most historical town in Ontario. From Linda Gauthier. So I'll thank the 3 for the responses, and we will notify them. Is Linda Gauthier, we don't have an address, so we'll
Find her on one of the benches.
find an address for her. So we'll get in contact with the 3, and we will send out a $25 Tim Hortons gift card to them. It will come out of the fund that we have just established once we receive the donation.
I don't suppose you'd consider giving people the option to have a $25 gift card to a Cobalt business?
We could. I just didn't want to make that decision and look like I was.
But maybe they could just have the option. We could just.
Good idea.
Go
We
to.
could ask them. Yeah,
Spend the money in town.
I would love to do that. So again, I'll issue the challenge. I think this is my fourth or fifth time. I need 5 more. Okay, number 12, closed meeting. Draft motion. Be it resolved that council convene in closed session as per section 239 in the Municipal Act 2001 as amended in order to address matter pertaining to subsection 2C. A proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Cooper and Councillor Hughes. Any discussion on going into closed? All in favor? Carried. We will take a 10-minute break, and we will not resume recording after the closed meeting. Because we'll be adjourning.